When I arrived at part-time, one of the big things was internal workshops, whole staff workshops, on a weekly basis. So Mrs. Seresto ran the workshops herself. She picked various topics. They were generally one-shot workshops with a specific focus, and we were then expected to go away and work on the topic and try and implement things in our teaching. Sometimes we would come back and discuss what we had implemented, if we'd been able to implement anything at all. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. One of my colleagues was working on a project at the time called DIP, which was all about maths teachers and creating a community of practice. That allowed me to see was a slightly different side of professional development. It was one between maths teachers from different schools who came together on a weekly basis to discuss how to teach maths, some of the problems and errors that were cropping up and why they were cropping up, and how do we teach to avoid them or to address them. And what this did was open my eyes a little bit to the slightly more theoretical side of maths teaching, which I hadn't been exposed to before. In my second year of teaching, my HOD started what we called how-to sessions. So it wasn't particularly content-based and it wasn't particularly pedagogy-based. It was a sort of amalgamation of the two. So we would go through various topics and we would say, okay, we're not sure if this content is going to go content, and then we chatted about how was the best way to teach the content. So then Mrs. Seresto wanted to do her doctorate, and she got the school involved in doing her doctorate and her research, and she was looking at communities of practice, and she developed these things called NLCs and PLCs, which we ran at the school. So the PLC was the professional learning community, which was community of the staff members at the school. It was basically the department per subject. We got together every second week and we talked about how to teach things. It was basically our how-to sessions now formalized into an afternoon session. The NLC, the Network Learning Community, was a community of teachers of mathematics, subject teachers, there were other subjects as well, subject teachers from various Soweto schools and from part-time girls at Reason High. What she wanted to do was create a network of support for the teachers in the township schools, and she based the model on the DIP project, certainly for the maths NLC. Okay, so I'll talk now about Phemba. Basically, the context in which we found ourselves was that there were lots of interventions for underperforming teachers, and what we were finding was that there was not a lot of support for high-performing teachers. So we decided, we got 3 other members of staff involved, and we decided to start this supportive network, but it was by teachers, for teachers, but in our spare time. So our first pilot project was a learning community based on the concept of the NLC. They were subject specific, and basically the teachers, these were high performing maths teachers as they described themselves. Our biggest hurdle was regularity, and this was mostly because priorities of a teacher are so many that Phemba fell right at the bottom of the list. And one of the areas of need that we identified was mentorship of first-year teachers. So we decided, okay, we've done the network learning community for 2 years now, and we've sort of seen how that works. Let's try a slightly different tack. We went and approached some first-year teachers at WITS. Our aims for the first project were to support teachers as a group, to encourage them to stay in the profession, because often what we find is that first-year teachers come, they teach for 6 months, and they leave. And our second project on mentorship was focusing on first-year teachers, but individually. So we committed as mentors to take on 2 or 3 students. In fact, it ended up being 1 or 2 students each, to encourage them to stay in the profession, because that's ultimately what we wanted to do, and to address individual issues as they arose within a larger program. So what we did is we designed a program through which we would work through the year, but what we would allow was flexibility to discuss issues that arose as they arose for the individuals. So this was our most successful program. The on-site mentors were the most successful. So we had one who was not teaching, who went to the schools and mentored the teachers at the schools. Two others were working at schools and mentored teachers inside the schools. Most success was seen where there was already a culture of support and the program was done in collaboration with existing staff.